You know when your dog is just vibrating with excitement by the door, and you're like, he's so happy. Or your cat is just, perfectly still on the sofa, and you think, pure contentment. But what if I told you that might not be the case at all? Let's get into this, because the psychology here suggests we might be getting it, well, completely wrong.
And that really gets to the heart of the problem, doesn't it? We're basically just projecting our ideas of happiness onto these creatures that speak a totally different language. That thing you see as pure joy, it could actually be a quiet, subtle attempt to just cope with stress or even pain.
Okay, look at this. This is where things get really fascinating, because our assumptions just get flipped right on their head. We see a wagging tail and we immediately think, happy dog. But the hidden reality? It could be serious anxiety. We see a quiet, still cat and we're like, oh, she's so content. But what if she's actually just shut down? And a purr, get this, a purr isn't always happiness. It can literally be a cat's way of self-soothing when it's in pain. So yeah, how in the world do we get to the real truth? And this all leads us to our first big idea, the happiness illusion. You see, we're kind of wired to look for compliance, right? We think a good pet, an obedient pet, has to be a happy one. But honestly, that's just our human bias showing.
So here's the real kicker. The true measure of your pet's well-being, it has nothing to do with how well they follow commands. No, it's all about this really powerful psychological concept. A concept that's the difference between a prisoner and a true partner. And that concept is called agency. Which brings us right to the secret ingredient we've been talking about. Agency. Seriously, this is the one thing your pet needs more than anything else. It's the new lens we need to start looking through to really understand what's going on in their heads. It's more important than toys, more important than treats, maybe even more important than cuddles.
So what exactly is it? Well, put simply, agency is your pet's understanding that their choices matter. It's them knowing they can do something to affect their world. They nudge you, you pet them. They walk away, you give them space. They get it. They understand cause and effect. And that right there, that is the absolute foundation of a healthy, happy mind. Okay, so how do we give them more of this agency stuff? Well, the first big way is by giving them a job to do. We have to remember, our pets aren't designed to just sit around and wait for their next meal. They are hardwired to seek, to explore, and to solve problems. But that leads to a pretty strange question, doesn't it? Why would any animal choose to work for its food when the exact same food is available for free? I mean, it seems totally backwards, right? But this very question led to a pretty incredible discovery. So back in the 1960s, a psychologist named Glenn Jensen decided to find out. He ran this simple experiment. He gave a bunch of different animals a choice, a totally free bowl of food, no strings attached, or a lever they had to press to get the exact same food. And you won't believe what happened. Almost across the board, we're talking rats, dogs, monkeys, even bears, they chose to work for it. And this bizarre phenomenon actually has a name. It's called contraloading. What it proves is something so fundamental. For an animal, the real satisfaction isn't just about getting a full belly. It's about the process. It's about the hunt, the puzzle, the problem-solving it took to get there. I love this quote. When you put a bowl on the floor, you're giving them the paycheck without the job. It just nails it, right? You're robbing them of that primary psychological drive. So think about it. A puzzle toy, a snuffle mat, even just hiding treats around the house. For a cat, it's batting a little treat ball around. These things aren't just games. They engage their brain and fulfill that deep, ancient need to seek.
And this powerful seeking system in their brain, it's also why walks are so incredibly important for dogs, but maybe not for the reason you think. A brisk power walk, that's for us. For a dog, a walk is all about gathering information. Sniffing a fire hydrant is basically like us scrolling through our social media feed. It's how they read the local news. And for a cat, that same system lights up when they're watching a bird out the window, or stalking a feather toy, or, exploring the mysteries of a new cardboard box. And this next quote, wow, just think about this the next time you're out with your dog. When you yank your dog away from a sniff, you are essentially blindfolding them and dragging them down the street. It's so visceral, right? Every time you pull them away from some fascinating smell, you're cutting off their main way of experiencing the world. A really good walk, a happy walk, is a slow walk. It's a sniffitari. It's about letting them explore, not just getting your steps in.
All right, the next piece of the agency puzzle is, honestly, it might be the hardest one for us humans to accept. It's all about giving our pets the power of no, because real trust
deep trust isn't built on them just doing whatever we want all the time. It's built on us respecting their boundaries.
You know, we praise that perfect pet. The one that never complains, the one who just puts up with anything. Kids pulling their ears, being forced into a silly Halloween costume. But we have to be careful. That quiet tolerance, it might not be a sign of a calm, happy pet. It could be a sign of something much, much darker.
Psychologists call this state learned helplessness. And it's exactly what it sounds like. If an animal learns over and over again that nothing it does matters, that it can't escape something stressful or uncomfortable, it eventually just stops trying. It just gives up. They go still, they shut down, they basically learned that they have no voice, so they just stop speaking.
So here's the big takeaway. A happy, healthy pet actually has opinions. They have preferences, and they aren't afraid to show them. That nudge for more pets, that groan when you ask them to move, a cat walking away when they've had enough, that's not disobedience. That's communication. That's a confident animal who trusts that you will actually listen.
And when they do finally have a negative reaction, it almost never comes out of the blue. It's usually caused by something called trigger stacking. Just imagine this. For a dog, first the mailman comes. Stress. Then a loud truck goes by. More stress. Then you take them to the vet. Even more stress. For a cat, it could be seeing a strange cat in the yard, then you turn on the vacuum, then a guest comes over. Each of these little events stacks on top of the last, until one more tiny thing happens, and they snap. It's not about that last little thing, it's about the whole pile.
So, if we can't trust the old signs, what should we be looking for? Okay, let's get into the real language of our pets, speaking dog and cat. True happiness isn't some big, obvious gesture. It's actually written in the subtle, tiny micro-movements of their bodies.
First up, dogs. You want to look for what trainers call a liquid or loose body. A stressed dog is all stiff and jerky. A happy dog is fluid and wiggly. And speaking of wiggles, look for that full body wiggle that starts all the way up at the shoulders, not just a frantic tail tip. You've got the classic play bow, butt in the air, which is just a universal let's play. And my favorite, the play sneeze. When they're wrestling and they let out a little sneeze, that's dog language for, hey, just kidding, this is all in good fun.
Now for our feline friends. With cats, so much of happiness is about trust. You've probably heard of the slow blink. It's called an eye kiss for a reason. It's a huge sign of security because think about it. A prey animal will only close its eyes around you if it feels totally safe. Then there's the question mark tail. Straight up with a little hook at the end, that's a super friendly greeting. And when they rub their face on you, that head bunt, they're not just itchy, they're literally marking you with their scent glands, claiming you as part of their family.
So, as we start to wrap this all up, it really comes down to one big question you can ask yourself. Are you giving your pet the freedom to make choices? The freedom to say no? The freedom to just be the animal they were born to be? Are you letting them spend 10 minutes just sniffing one single patch of grass? Are you letting them work for their food? Are you letting them express who they really are?
Because ultimately, I think we get this a bit backwards. We tend to think love is about control, right? Keeping them safe, keeping them close, keeping them quiet. But what all this psychology really teaches us is that love is actually freedom. It's the freedom to be a dog, the freedom to be a cat, the freedom to be exactly the incredible creature that nature designed them to be. And really, isn't that the whole point?